Hi there guys, welcome back to the Solo YouTube channel. My name's Tom Quayle. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. If you're new here, this is the official YouTube channel for the app Solo. Myself and David Beebee upload regular weekly content to this channel that enables you to get the best from the app. If you're new here or you've not done so already, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons below, and of course the obligatory bell notification icon to make sure that you're notified every time we upload new content. So in this video, I want to talk about something really important to enable you to get the best performance and experience out of the app. Solo works by using a sophisticated note recognition algorithm, which compares the notes that you're playing on your instrument to the intervallic functions requested by the app to tell you whether you're playing the correct third or fifth or seventh, for example, against a given chord or scale. In order for Solo to stand the best possible chance of recognizing the notes that you're playing correctly, it's essential that you calibrate the note detection sensitivity within the app. By calibrating properly, you can ensure that Solo is going to recognize only the notes that you want it to recognize and not background noise in your environment, or for instance, some of the noises that your instrument might make, for instance, some string swishing noises or amp background noise that might exist in your signal chain. So what I want to do here in this video is tell you when you should calibrate, and then how you should do the procedure and what the controls do within the note detection sensitivity, specifically the fine adjustment control, because we get a lot of questions about how that particular control works. So when should you calibrate the note detection sensitivity? Well, this essentially comes down to the idea that anytime anything about your environment or setup changes, you should definitely go back in and do the note detection sensitivity calibration process. This might be something like changing guitar. If you go from, say, one electric guitar to another one, if you change pickups on your instrument, so you go from the bridge pickup to the neck pickup, that's going to change the way the note sounds to Solo and the volume of that note, and it could affect the note detection sensitivity. If you go from a clean tone to a distorted tone, if you switch amplifiers, or if you go to a modeling device from a normal amplifier, say for instance you go from using the onboard microphone of your device to then using an audio interface that's plugged directly into Solo, anytime anything like this changes, you really want to go in and change the note detection sensitivity calibration, or run that process, I should say. It's worth mentioning that if you are going to do a longer practice session with Solo, it's just a good habit to get into to run the calibration process at the beginning of that practice session to ensure that you're getting the best possible experience with Solo. This means there'll be no frustration in terms of note detection sensitivity, and you can concentrate on your practice as opposed to wondering why the app is not quite detecting the notes that you're playing in the way that you think it should. So let me show you how I would do the note detection sensitivity calibration process, and I'm going to be very specific here as to what I would play and how I would play it to get the best calibration out of the process. The setup that I'm running here is I'm running an iOS device, so this is an iPhone 11, and I've got the onboard microphone here. I'm not using an audio interface. The same thing would apply if you're using an Android device or an iOS device. It's exactly the same. Now my sound is coming out in the room because I'm not using an audio interface here, and I'm plugged into a Marshall Silver Jubilee, and I'm on the overdrive channel. That's going into my studio monitors via a load box, so it's coming out in the room via my studio monitors, and that is what the app is listening to for the note detection sensitivity calibration. Generally, we recommend that you have the device you're running Solo on relatively close to the sound source. In this instance, I'm about 8 feet away from the speakers because I'm fairly loud in the room. But if you are running a very quiet sound source, you should probably have the device located nearer to the sound source in order to get the best possible experience. Okay, let's go to the settings screen of the app here. And at the top, you will see note detection sensitivity. Now this is the same on iOS or Android, so let's tap on note detection sensitivity here. And this takes us to the calibration screen, and at the bottom you will see a start calibration button. There are some small differences between Android and iOS, but the process is going to be identical. Now at the top here on iOS you will see the last calibrated date, that tells you when you last did the calibration, and then you will see a fine adjustment tool underneath. Now this is really important, we get a lot of questions on this. The fine adjustment tool does not affect the calibration process at all. If you adjust that sensitivity on there, this fine adjustment sensitivity, it doesn't change the calibration value at all. You want to adjust the fine adjustment after calibrating. So we're going to come back to that later. It has no bearing on the calibration process at all. It just adjusts the sensitivity after you've calibrated. Okay, really, really important. So don't adjust that at all at this stage. What you want to do now is you want to hit the Start Calibration button, and then Solo is going to ask you to start playing some notes. But what on earth do you play? I think this is probably a problem for a lot of people. They have no idea what they're supposed to play. It just says play some notes. What I would recommend, and what the team here at Solo would recommend that you play, this is what we all do, is take the top 2 strings of your guitar and play the 12th and the 15th frets on those 2 strings. So that would be the B and the E string at the 12th and 15th fret. If it helps, think of that as the top 2 strings of an E minor pentatonic shape, so the 12th and 15th frets. And what you want to do is play short, separated notes. So if I just demonstrate that for you now, don't play long held notes like this. Play short, separated notes. Well, the technical term for this is staccato notes, like this. The reason for this is it allows Solo to listen to the transient or the attack of the note rather than listening for the full length of the note. And it gives Solo the best opportunity to understand what is a note and what is background noise. It's really, really important. Now, the other thing that you want to do is play at the same volume that you're going to be playing during your practice session. So what do I mean by this? Well, Solo is going to struggle if you calibrate and you play really, really hard. There's this temptation to play really hard because you want Solo to listen to the notes that you're playing. And I've done this before. You start the calibration process and then you dig in. That's going to cause a problem because then Solo's threshold is going to be so high for what a note is that if you then play quietly or quieter during your practice session, Solo's going to not recognize those notes very well because it's listening for much louder notes. Now, equally, if you play really softly when you calibrate, if you play like this, hardly digging in with the pick at all, and then when you do your practice session, you're playing really hard, the difference between your calibrated value and then the notes that you're playing when you're practicing is so great that Solo is going to be recognizing all sorts of background noise, all sorts of swishing noises in the background as you're playing, and you're going to think, wait a minute, Solo's recognizing all sorts of things that I don't want it to recognize. You need to make sure that the volume that you play at is the same volume that you would play if you were just practicing. So figure out what you just generally will play at when you're practicing. So when you're playing through the exercises of Solo or the workouts, figure out what that volume is, what that pick attack is, just be relaxed, and then try and play consistently at that volume as you're practicing, especially if you're using the onboard microphone, okay? So let me show you this in practice now. I'm going to hit Start Calibration on the app. I'm then going to come back to my guitar and play the 12th and 15th frets at roughly the same volume I would normally play at when I'm practicing. And then at the end, you will see a confirmation saying that Solo has recognized the notes that you've played and calibrated successfully. So let's do that now. There we go. Solo says calibration complete. There's a little message underneath that you can read. If you just tap OK, now Solo is calibrated and you'll see that the data's updated or the time is updated. It says, when I last calibrated. So now we can talk about the fine adjustment tool. Once Solo's calibrated, if you find that Solo is not recognizing enough of the notes that you play, you would like it to be more sensitive, you can come in and you can add to the fine adjustment tool. So here I've added +2, let's say, and you can go all the way up to 5. Now, if you find that Solo is recognizing too many notes and you would like to decrease its sensitivity without going through the calibration process again, you can actually come in and take away some sensitivity. So that's what the fine adjustment tool is for. It is not for use during the calibration process. It is a post-calibration tool to enable you to adjust the sensitivity after calibrating. Really, really, really important. Okay, so now I've calibrated Solo. I've adjusted my fine adjustment to where I want it to be. Let's come in to the scale trainer here. I've selected Dorian, a starting root note of C. Let's hit the start scale workout, and then I will play through the intervallic functions. And provided the calibration process has gone well, the note detection algorithm should be really, really accurate. So let's check it out. There you go. So you can see that's working really, really nicely now in the room. If I was to change anything about my setup, so if I was going to change the pickup for some reason, if I was going to change guitar, change amplifier, change to a clean sound, change the distance of the actual device from the speaker, go to an audio interface, any of these things, then I would want to come back in and run that calibration process again, just to make sure I was getting the optimum setup for Solo's note detection algorithm. All right, guys, so I hope you find that useful. As always, if you've got any questions at all about the calibration process, you're having any issues at all, either leave some comments below or get in touch with us at the support. You will find our support link in the settings of the app. You can contact us directly there, and we do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Thanks as ever for watching. Again, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons below, and of course that bell notification icon as I mentioned earlier in the video. All right, guys, my name's Tom Quayle. I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.